everyone, welcome to day 4 of Emotions and Essential Oils. How are you? How's it going? How have you found the last 3 days so far? And are you finding that you're thinking about your emotions slightly differently, a little bit more empowered, a little bit more clarity and awareness? I'd love to know. Let me know how you're getting on. Today, I wanted to completely change tact, completely change direction. And over the last couple of days, we've talked about overwhelm, we've talked about anger and some of these really hardcore, bigger, deeper, thicker emotions. And what I want to talk about today is upliftment, expansion, feeling better, feeling like you can boost your mood. And why this is important is because we can get really stuck as adults and as children. We can get really stuck in this heavy, deep, sticky emotion that can feel like we're being pulled down, and we stay there. And whether it's you've just had a really bad day, whether you're just absolutely tired up to your upper limit, whether it's this time of year and you're finding the motivation to get going is tricky, finding that you're struggling just to get up and out. And not that we're trying to push against the natural instinct of hibernation or going inward, not that we're trying to keep pushing against something that should be a natural relationship with the rhythms and cycles of the year, but more like giving us a pep, a boost, a slight bubbling, an effervescence, an agitation in a positive and delicious way to help us feel like we can get the most out of this time. Because even if you're inward, even if you're spending time at home, even if you're rumbling with some very deep feelings of maybe fear and overwhelm, anxiety, there's still an opportunity there to find a bit of lightness, an expansion of spirit, something that feels altogether lightening up and more bubbly. And I know that this can feel quite a tricky thing to do because from my personal perspective, I've had a lot of trauma and wounding in my life. And in those moments, it can feel really sticky, and like the joy and the bubbliness and the playfulness isn't really within my experience and the ability for me to have that kind of experience. And I see that with my son too. When he's having a bad day, he's just like, leave me alone, I don't want to do anything, and he wants to just stay in that place. And respecting those feelings and emotions is important. Allowing them space and accepting that that's what's going on and embracing them is absolutely key and important. And so is creating a different shift in perspective, boosting our mood so that we can have a different experience with those feelings themselves and within our experience too. And I want to really explore how also just bring this awareness that our emotions are in a constant state of flux. And much like the cycles and the seasons, they move and they're supposed to be fluid. Energy is fluid, our emotions are fluid. And yes, they might get stuck in certain places. They might have more time spent in certain emotions than others. But ultimately, the saying, this too shall pass, is really relevant, and it will ebb and flow. And we can apply this vision, this perspective with our emotions to give us permission to find alternative ways of being with ourselves, and to give us also the opportunity to find ways to help ourselves move through the emotions in a very gentle and natural way. So that's the emotional side. Then you've also got the practical side, which is getting up when it's dark outside can be tricky, right? Or when you've had a big meal and you're sat on the sofa and you're like, I really want to go off and do something, or maybe I want to do something, or your children want you to do something and you're like, oh, I don't really want to. Um, then we can use the essential oils to support us, to kind of give us a bit of a mood boost as well. And I'm going to go through the three main different smell profiles that you can use and you can incorporate into your day. Um, the only other thing I'd add about the emotions is that we can get very stuck looking at um, an intense emotion like anger, fear, resentment, anxiety, bitterness, shame, blame, projection, judgment. All these really, I'd say, kind of lower vibration um, emotions. And we can get stuck looking at them from all sides. We almost get fixated on trying to fix them. And sometimes that's helpful to understand the pathology and how the emotions are put together, like we talked about in great detail yesterday about anger and what that looks like and how it works. And understanding it is really helpful so that you can find a way through it. And yet, other times, and this is a call that you can practice and you can work out, especially with your children, sometimes you just don't need to go into that level of detail. I say that, although I've spent the best part of my entire life looking at the detail of all of it, trying to understand the pathology of all emotion and all transformation as an experience. And what I've come to realize is that it's not always necessary. And that there are tools out there that can be super, super helpful. And just to help move the energy around, bring it back to its natural flow, bring it back into the natural way that it's supposed to move through our bodies, our emotions, our experiences. And sometimes it can simply be some sleep. Yeah. Sleep is such a good one for a reset. And we've talked about that before. It can be laughter, watching a funny video, or just being silly, or trying to, if your child is into tickling, that kind of things can be nice. Mine isn't, he doesn't like that. But there are other things like telling jokes. We have a good joke book around, and that often, or any poo joke, right? Any joke that involves talking about poo for a 9-year-old is a winner, right? So laughter is important. A change of scenery, taking ourselves off to the woods, going to the beach, somewhere where there's a lot of expansive nature around. Even just actually going for a walk around the block can be helpful. Maybe a bike ride, that kind of thing can lift the mood. But if what you're struggling with is actually putting on your shoes to get outside, or getting up off the sofa, getting up out of bed, like at the moment, I'm normally somebody who jumps out of bed and gets on with my day, but at the moment it's taking me a lot longer because it's still dark outside when we wake up. And what I've started to do is use the essential oils in my diffuser to help create a bit of perkiness, a bit of mood boosting to get the day going. Then the other two I would add into there that really help with emotions and boosting your mood are things like sunlight, getting out whilst it's still sunny outside, or any sort of daylight at all if it's not sunny. Just being outside during the day is helpful for getting things going, getting that energy, that stagnation moving around. And then also water, drinking enough water, making sure you're hydrated. We have a tendency to only drink when it's hot. So we forget. So even if it's just like liquid herbal teas, that's really beneficial. Some of my favorite ones are like the yogi teas or the pucca teas. I like those. Matcha green teas are also a really good one. Anything that helps hydrate the body will hydrate the brain and will help you feel like your mood has been boosted as well. So with all that being said, let's talk about how, actually, I've got two questions for you first. The first one is, and I've written it down just to make sure that I didn't miss out. The first one is, do you believe that you can positively affect your mood? That's really significant to know whether you're going to take these actions and help yourself feel better or not. It's much like the same similar sort of question as saying, do you believe that the universe is benevolent or out to get you a lot of the time? Depending on your view to these questions will really significantly depend on how you show up and the action that you will take next in life, whether you're feeling that you can empower yourself and create positive change for yourself, or that you're just at the mercy of events around you and you're just being reactive all the time. That's a bit of a leading question, but the idea is for you to get to bring some awareness to what your subconscious programming is so that you can reframe it should you want to or need to. And then the second question is how do you and what methods do you use to shift your mood? So if you imagine that on the whole, emotions are on a continuum, like we talked about yesterday, and at one end is a good mood and the other end is a bad mood. And depending on what things you put in place, you can shift them along and move them into a different state of experience. Do you believe that you can do that? That's question one. And number two is, how do you do that? How do you move them along? And we've talked a little bit about some of those methods already. I'm going to propose to you three sets of oils that I use that can be that I use every single day, especially when I'm trying to boost my mood or uplift or concentrate or feel like I'm shifting something internally. And they come into three categories. The first is lemony, the second is pungent, and the third is sweet. Now, I've got some of them here. I'm going to describe some of them. The lemony one, if you imagine lemony as a scent, as a smell, comes up, out, and down. It's all the way. It wants to disperse. It wants to come up and out. It wants to expand in all directions. So very simply, that means that your energy is coming out in all of these ways as well. Things like wild orange, grapefruit, green mandarin, lime, all of the citrus ones are really lovely. I've got some of my favorite here. I've got tangerine, which is a really amazing. Oh my God, that's so good. Tangerine, wild orange together. This is wild orange. Oh, this is grapefruit. It's absolutely incredible. So if you're feeling stuck inside, if your head's feeling fuzzy, then dispersing it up and out can be really super useful. This looks a little bit like jazz hands, doesn't it? But imagine that the lemony is a bit like that. Then you've got pungent. And pungent is a rise. It rises up and out. It goes from down deep and rises up and out. Okay, so you'll recognize these ones because the scent of them want to come up and out. They're pungent. So things like rosemary, eucalyptus, nutmeg, ginger, cardamom, things like that, which is really interesting, isn't it? Because those are the scents that we associate with certainly winter time, Christmas time. And those kind of spices are pungent and they are uplifting. So they're bringing that energy up and out. So there's no mistake. And also they're highly antioxidant as well. So there's no mistake why these are the types of spices and scents that we have at this time of year. Because they help boob your moost, moost your boost your mood and bring them up and out. And then the third one is a sweet, and it's a harmonizer. So if you imagine it like the infinity sign, okay, it harmonizes whatever's going on in your experience. It's really lovely, very natural, very fluid. Whereas there's a sense of upward movement or outward movement with the lemony and the pungent. It's kind of pushing something outward, whereas the harmonizer works with what's there to bring it back into balance, which is really lovely. And so things The Harmonizers, the sweet ones, are things like the flowers, the bergamot, the neroli, the rose, the geranium. Things like that are really, you can feel, they feel softer, they feel more flowy, they feel more warm and loving. So if you're really wanting to bring something significant up and out and shift mood, then pairing something like a lemon and a peppermint, or wild orange and a peppermint, or a eucalyptus and a tangerine, or even a wild orange and ginger, that's really beautiful. Lemon and a cardamom, lovely. Experiment with those kind of scents and smells, and you can create a really different experience at home and boost the mood for everybody, which is lovely. So my favorite way to use those is in the diffuser, especially at this time of year. You can create your own little roller ball if you wanted to, or put them on your scented bracelet like we talked about in, I think, day one. But specifically for boosting mood, then putting them in the diffuser is really useful. You don't have to put them in the diffuser. If you've got a child who doesn't like that scent all the time, and maybe they're a bit reticent to be involved with essential oils, then that's cool. What I would do is put them out in a line and ask them and engage with them, see if they want to find an oil that feels good for them, get them to smell them, and then just literally sniffing them from the bottle. It doesn't have to take much. So here's my wild orange. You don't, just sniffing it from the bottle does exactly the same thing. Okay, so I would be encouraging that kind of experience too. There's so many things that we could say about the benefits of boosting mood and uplifting and creating a different experience. And I wish I had known about being able to positively affect my own mood and my child's mood earlier, because it's had such a profound impact for me, especially for somebody who's, when I'm thinking, it feels heavy and it brings my energy down low. And I know that I always feel better when the energy is bubbling up and feeling more effervescent and expanding and moving rather than sticky and stuck. So have a look, have an explore, see how it feels for you. Share in the comments what works. Share in the comments the kind of oils that your family likes to use and what works for you. Anecdotally, I had a friend reach out to me the other day who said she had used, I think it was wild orange and peppermint, to try and get her husband off the sofa on a Sunday afternoon to go and do the washing up. And I think it had a positive impact. But yeah, see what works and have fun, explore, be playful. They're here to be not taken so seriously. They're here to be part of this journey with us. All right, take care. Have a lovely day. Day 4. Oh, by the way, before I go, there is a chance for winning the giveaway today, which is 2 of my courses for free. And I will place the winner, the name of the winner, in the Facebook group. All right, take care. Lots of love.